Have you ever wondered how your doctor knows what to do? How they know which drugs to prescribe or what lab tests to order? How do they know what works and what doesn't? To answer that question, doctors conduct randomized controlled clinical trials. In these trials, patients are randomly assigned to receive either treatment or placebo. Random is the key word here. By randomizing patients to either side, you're also equally distributing the factors that may influence the results which we are not measuring. In other words, by randomizing, we're also ensuring that the results we're seeing are most likely due to the treatment being provided. Nowadays, most doctors and medical schools preach that all healthcare practitioners should provide treatment that has gone through this process and shown to be beneficial. This practice is known as evidence-based medicine. In theory, evidence-based medicine should remove the guesswork out of medicine. It should ensure that the average patient is improving because of the treatment we're providing and not because of the natural healing process or simply pure dumb luck. But this is only true if the clinical trials are being conducted fairly and without bias. Conducting a randomized controlled clinical trial can be very expensive. You often need to enroll thousands of patients across multiple health centers, provide the treatments and controls, analyze the data, and then publish it all in a reputable journal. All of these things cost money. And so the most common source of funding for these trials turns out to be pharmaceutical companies and medical device companies, which are referred to as industry. As you can imagine, if a pharmaceutical company is sponsoring a large multi-center national clinical trial, they want to see returns on that money. Put yourself in their shoes. You just invested millions of dollars to investigate biomedical mechanisms of a new drug. You tested it on animals and then small groups of people. Now you need to invest a whole heap load of cash to test it on an even larger group of people. At this point, you're probably down hundreds of millions of dollars. And if your national clinical trial is a bust, you have no hope of recovering any of that money. So it's only reasonable that these pharmaceutical companies want to see positive results. However, this also implies that they aren't just benevolently donating money to advance a scientific cause. They are making a financial investment. In this light, it's not very surprising to find out that 97% of clinical trials sponsored by industry show results that favor their products. What is surprising, however, is that the majority of trials available are actually sponsored by industry. In effect, we have a situation where the majority of evidence available to physicians is provided to them by pharmaceutical companies, which coincidentally all show that you should prescribe more of their products. To play devil's advocate, I can believe that the majority of their trials would show positive results. After all, there are several stages of testing that need to precede the randomized controlled clinical trials. It is a little harder to believe, however, that they're batting almost 100% on all of these trials that they're putting out there. Some of you may be thinking, but wait, even if all of these companies are shoveling money into research papers, they still need to be peer-reviewed. And even then, the journal itself must admit it for printing. Doesn't this guarantee the quality of the research being done? Again, in theory, this should be a good failsafe. But industry money is not stupid. They know about the peer review process, and as you can imagine, they've come up with a clever solution to this small problem. Here's how it works. Pharmaceutical companies and medical device companies represent a big source of revenue for medical journals by buying what are known as reprints. Basically, they purchase thousands of copies of their own paper that is published in that medical journal. Then, they give these reprints to their sales representatives as marketing material, who go to every single physician, PA, and NP to show them the benefits of the products that they are pushing. To no surprise, medical journals actually make a lot of money from this process. For example, in 2005, The Lancet stated that a whopping 41% of its annual revenue came from selling reprints. In 2020, the British Medical Journal stated that 17.5% of its annual revenue came from industry. Again, put yourself in the shoes of the medical journals. If you don't print the paper sponsored by industry, chances are your competitors will. And then all that revenue that you would have been getting otherwise is going to be shoveled directly into your competitor. Obviously, this creates a massive financial conflict of interest that incentivizes medical journals to be more lenient with their infamously opaque peer review process. So this is what our final picture looks like. Industry funds the majority of randomized controlled clinical trials, and they also represent a big source of revenue for medical journals. Medical associations then review the published evidence and create evidence-based medical guidelines, which tell physicians to prescribe more of the industry products. This, of course, leads to increased sales and profits for pharmaceutical and medical device companies who rinse and repeat the whole process to continue boosting sales. I'm not trying to say that all modern drugs are ineffective or have fabricated evidence. Of course, a lot of them provide life-saving treatment to a lot of patients. What I am saying is that our dogmatic adherence to practicing evidence-based medicine is blinding us from seeing the massive financial conflict of interests that exists within the evidence that we are ascribing to. Evidence-based medicine is being abused to the benefit of pharmaceutical companies and to the detriment of patients. The real victims of this entire situation are the patients, who without the many years of education and clinical experience accorded to physicians, have no other options available to them than to hope that their physicians and scientists are doing their due diligence on the treatments being provided. In the long run, patients will lose faith in the honesty of the medical system and its providers. We need to right the ship before we get to that point. Please let me know if I've missed anything, or if you disagree with any of the data presented here, or if you think maybe the picture's not as bad as I painted it out to be here. Thank you for watching.